السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده سبحانه ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وما قل وكفى خير مما كثر وألهى وإنما توعدون لآت وما أنتم بمعجزين. All the praise due to Allah. We praise Him and we seek His assistance and guidance and forgiveness. Whomsoever Allah guides, there is no one could misguide, and whomsoever Allah misguides, there is no one could guide. And I testify that there is no God but Allah, and I further testify that Muhammad is His servant and messenger. We ask you, O Allah, to send your peace and your blessing upon the messenger as well as his household and companions, like you sent upon Prophet Abraham and his household and companions. To proceed, dear brothers and sisters, today, alhamdulillah, is the beginning of the month of Shaban. Today is the beginning of the month of Shaban, and so the month of Ramadan is now less than 1 month away. It is now less than 1 month away. Before we knew it, we will find ourselves preparing ourselves for the Taraweeh and for fasting and so on and so forth. And as we mentioned before, by the start, or at the start of the month of Rajab, and that felt like it was yesterday, at the month of Rajab, when we start the first of Rajab, we mentioned that the righteous predecessors consider the season of Rajab and Shaban as a season of preparing oneself for the month of Ramadan. They consider the month of Ramadan a month of reaping, of harvesting what you have done throughout the year. Not the month when you start things out. They believed that there is no such a thing of sudden transition. And I believe in the same way too. The human soul needs preparation. The human soul needs take things slowly, bit by bit, gradual fashion, in order to get accustomed to get used to things. The human soul needs practice in order to change its routine, in order to improve or to make any improvement in anything. And so they consider the season of Rajab and Shaban as a preparation for the month of Ramadan. And so the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in more than one occasion, he was seen fasting in the month of Shaban more than he was seen fasting in any other month of the year. And he was asked about the reason. This was narrated by Aisha radiallahu anha and another hadith by Usama bin Zayd. He asked him about the reason why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would do more fasting in any other month than the month. He does not do any more fasting in any other month than the month of Shaban. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never completed a full month of fasting except in Ramadan. Full month of fasting only in Ramadan. After that, he fasted in Shaban most of it. And he was asked about the reason, and he replied, saying that this month falls between Rajab and Ramadan. We mentioned this hadith when we talked about Rajab. It falls between Rajab and Ramadan, and so a lot of people are unaware of it. But in this month, something strange, something different happens in this month. Something so unique happens in this month that the deeds of the whole year are being lifted, raised, presented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in an annual report. In an annual report. And I would love that when my deeds are being lifted to Allah to be fasting. This is the month that everything that we have done since the last Ramadan, since the beginning of last Ramadan, until the end of this month, this is the month when the annual report go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we mentioned before, there is no contradiction because there is an annual report, there is a daily report. There is a daily report that everything you do, there is a daily report goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not only once a day, it's twice in one day. The Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith reported, narrated by Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, قال إن الله لا ينام وما ينبغي له أن ينام. Allah does not sleep, nor should He sleep. Allah does not sleep, nor should He sleep. يرفع إليه عمل الليل قبل عمل النهار وعمل النهار قبل عمل الليل. The deeds of the night is being lifted to Him before the day comes. And the deeds of the day is being raised and lifted to Him before the night comes. And that means like when you about to pray Fajr, before you pray Fajr, everything that you have done during the night, all the deeds are being lifted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, raised to Allah in a nightly report. And when you pray Asr, everything that you have done throughout the day is being lifted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before the Maghrib prayer. Before the night starts, all the deeds of the day goes to Allah. Before the day starts, all the deeds of the night go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the daily report. And there is a weekly, a semi-weekly report on Mondays and Thursdays. On Mondays, as it was reported in the authentic hadith, that the deeds are being presented before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every week, twice on Mondays and Thursdays. That was the reason why the Prophet ﷺ would also fast these 2 days for the whole year. Mondays and Thursdays, he would fast them for the whole year. And that's the semi-weekly report. The annual reports happens in this month, the month of Shaban. But everything that we have done since Ramadan of last year, until the end of the month of Shaban is given to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in an annual report fashion. There is one final report, and that's upon death. The report is generated upon the person's death. One final report goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is called in the Quran Al-Kitab. Iqra Kitab. This is what's going to be given to you on the day of judgment. You will have it, and you will receive it. We ask Allah to receive it in our right hands. And you will read it on your own. And you will be your own judge. Some people will tend to argue, like they used to argue in this world. They will still go to argue. No, I haven't done none of that. It's always in me. That's probably, there's a typo here. I didn't do that. No arguments. And then in this case, Allah will seal the mouth and will have your body parts will speak on their own. Your body parts will speak. No arguments anymore. And that was one final report at the end of the life of every person. The annual report, dear brothers and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ gave us a hint that there's something can be done, something can be made in order to beautify this report, in order to amend this report as it goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every year. That's why the Prophet ﷺ recommended fasting, or he practiced himself fasting, that when the deeds are being presented to Allah, he wants to be in a state of fasting. You could also be in a state of making istighfar. You could also be in a state of doing prayer. You could also be in a state of doing any kinds of good deeds. Not necessarily fasting, which fasting is very important in Shaban because it's almost, now we have counted days until Ramadan. If you haven't done fasting since last Ramadan, this is the time when you should do some fasting. It's not an on and off switch. Do some fasting before the day gets longer. The day will get longer maybe in 1 week or so when the daylight saving starts. Now Maghrib is 6 o'clock. Now it will be 7 o'clock very soon. Take an advantage of that past few days when it's short. Get yourself used to fasting. In order, when the first day of Ramadan comes, it won't be too difficult on you. Read some Quran. In order, when Ramadan comes, you will get used to holding the mushaf and read through the lines. Do some sadaqah. Do some dhikr. Do some istighfar. Visit your family. Those who are here and those who are away, you can give them phone calls and get connected with them. Do these things because when your report goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if there's something wrong in it, these things can do something to change. Can do some improvement as a final attempt as it goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before it's going to be a final report. Dear brothers and sisters, in this month, the month of Shaban has a very important and unique night, which is the night of the middle of Shaban. The night of the middle of Shaban. It is also, I'm necessarily not 100% sure whether it's going to be the 14th or the 15th, depending on the length of the month. Depending on the length of it, was 29 or 30 days. But anyway, there are 2 nights. The possibility is that 2 nights could be the nights of the middle of Shaban. What happened during this night, as it was reported, the Prophet ﷺ says, Allah looks upon His creation, all of His creation. Allah looks upon all of His creation with a look of mercy. And He would forgive all of His creation except 2 kinds. The first, mushrik, someone who associates partners with Allah Azza wa Jal. Someone who ascribes partners to Allah Azza wa Jal. The second, mushahan, someone who is a quarrelsome. Someone who is a quarrelsome, a problem maker, a troublemaker. Someone who fights with everyone, someone who argues with everyone. This feature is one of his main characteristics. Not every time someone argues will be called mushahan or quarrelsome. No, this is something that he is distinguished with. When people know him, when people see him, they seek refuge with Allah. No, get away from him, he's a troublemaker. This type, along with the type of those who ascribe partners with Allah, are 2 categories will not be forgiven in this night. Other than that, the Prophet ﷺ says Allah would forgive all of His creation except these 2 types. It is very important, wallahi, dear brothers and sisters, to gain the forgiveness of Allah Azza wa Jal before even the month of Ramadan starts. It is very important to abandon all kinds of shirk. That which is obvious, or the major or the minor. The shirk has categories. There is a major shirk, that when you clearly call upon anyone other than Allah Azza wa Jal, or when you direct any of your worship toward anyone other than Allah Azza wa Jal, and that is a major sin that is not forgiven. That's a major shirk. There is a minor shirk, as the Prophet ﷺ says, which is showing off your deeds. The main purpose of the worship should be to Allah, but when you do that, you tend to show off to other people. You tend to beautify your deeds, your actions, because you know other people are looking. You tend to do things in order to impress others. You are doing it to Allah, but that comes and this feeling comes being mixed in your heart, that you want to improve that because maybe other people are watching. This is called minor shirk, minor association. That's not something that is unforgiven. It is something serious, but it will be forgiven, inshallah, if you practice expelling this feeling away from your heart. Other forms of minor shirk is when you swear by anyone other than Allah Azza wa Jal. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet says, من حلف بغير الله فقد أشرك. Whosoever swears by anyone other than Allah, he has committed shirk. This shirk here is not the major one, it is a minor one. The Prophet ﷺ did not specify what kind of shirk meant in this hadith that would prevent the forgiveness for the one who does it. And so the scholars say it is both major and minor are included in this hadith. So let's, in this month of Shaban, practice the tawheed, the pure tawheed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Practice directing our worship to only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Practice beautifying our worship, beautifying our deed just to impress Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's practice not having any arguments, not having any problems, not having any tension, not having any hatred toward other people. If someone wants to hate you, by all means he can do that, but do not occupy your heart with these feelings. Let the people of hatred live with their hatred. Do not have it in your heart. As the Prophet ﷺ says in another hadith, وَيَدْعُ أَهْلَ الْحِقْدِ لِحِقْدِهِمْ. He would leave the people of hatred to their own hatred. Let them have the hatred. You cleanse you clean your heart from that. You clean your heart from all this filth that may be attached to it, in order to be entitled to the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Clean your heart from anything, any arrogance, atom weight of arrogance, anything that will make you feel that you may have something against your brother. Anything of that sort. And that's exactly by following the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ, following the teaching of Islam. Our religion teaches how to respect all people. Our religion teaches how to treat people with respect, regardless of their faith, regardless of their backgrounds, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their age, regardless of all that. لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم. Allah does not forbid you from being kind and just and fair to those who did not fight you because of your religion, nor did they drive out of your homes. Allah does not forbid you from being kind and nice and fair to them. Alright? And we see the injustice and the double standard with our eyes, something that was so shocking. With all you, I'm sure you're following the world news of the people who fled Ukraine as refugees because seeking for another place, a safer place to live, away from the bombing, away from the war. They lived as refugees all over Europe, westbound, to flee the war from the same enemy. And everyone was waiting how the European countries will receive them. And the memories of the Syrian refugees was refreshed. Syrian refugees, the border were closed on their faces. They were expelled. They were not welcome in many of these countries. And everyone thought that the same thing would happen to those people, but not. And they said it very clearly. Straightforward, in plain English. Those are white Christians. You are welcome. Wallahi, in plain English. In plain English by government officials. The same people. Running from the same enemy. It was Russia that was also bombing the Syrians. That's not they are bombing someone else, but they are bombing white Europeans. We are against of bombing of any country. We are against of bombing of any innocent people. We are against none of that. We are against all that. But we're also against double standard and racism. Islam cleans the heart from all this. Does not make you look at the person because of his color, because of his faith, because of his religion. He has rights, or even if he holds a different faith, but he still has rights on you as a human being to be treated fairly, to be treated justly. The only one, or the first ever, anyone, dear brother and the sisters, who was racist, there's a shaitan inside of him. There's a devil inside of him. Why? Because the first racist figure in the history of humanity was the shaitan. He was the one who said, I'm not bowing down to Adam. Why? Not because I'm a better worshipper, but the angel said that. The angel showed concern. They showed their concern to Allah when they said, أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاء وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ. Would you make Adam as your vicegerent, or the first person, or the first creation on earth, and we are the one who worship you excessively and glorify your praise all day and all night? They showed concern, but when they showed their concern based on action, based on their worship. They maybe said, we can worship you better than this creation. Maybe that's what they meant. We can worship you better. We worship you better than this creation will worship you. And they are. The angels worship Allah more than us. The angels could stay instead of sujood all the way until the day of judgment. They don't get tired. But when Iblis showed rejection, he showed rejection because of his material that he was created out of. Not because something that he does. He didn't say I can be a better worshiper than Adam. He didn't say that. He said I'm created from fire and he's created from clay. That's the first form of racism. And the racist person, dear brother, don't you think the racist person stops with color? No, Allah, abadan. The person who thinks that his color is better than someone else's color, he still thinks that his family is better than any other family. His country is better than any other country. His town is better than any other town. His house is better than all the houses. At the end, it will come down to one person. He would think that he's the best one ever. Racism doesn't stop. It continues until it reaches him or her, whoever is racist. They think that I'm the best person ever. It doesn't stop with color. It doesn't stop with ethnicity. It doesn't stop with background. It continues. And so, in Islam, Allah favors people upon people because of their actions. Because of their actions. If you are doing better action than others, then you are better than others. If you are a better worshipper, then you are better because of your action, because of something that you do, because of an effort that you put forth. And that's the effort that we need to do in this month. And those feelings, those filth that we need to get out of their hearts in this month. Clean our hearts from all these stains that the nature of this world may put in our hearts, but Islam and the teaching of Islam will help us to remove them. The submission to Allah will help us to remove them. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who listen to the speech and follow the estimate. Bismillah, alhamdulillah. Salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Amma ba'd. As mentioned, dear brothers and sisters, everyone who is looking for an improvement in the month of Ramadan must start by now. Unless you're not looking for any improvements, then you're not going to start at any point. Unless you want to continue on the same way you are, you're not going to start any. But if you plan to make any improvements in your life, you must start the preparation. You must do some serious preparation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, if you have something important that's coming up, you must prepare for it. The status of that thing that you are about to witness will be determined according to that, the level of the preparation that you are doing. If you have something important, you prepare for it so hard. Something less important, your preparation will go down. So the level of the preparation will actually be your assessment on how important that thing that you're waiting for. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions to a few people in the Quran that they did not prepare well for the march. The Prophet ﷺ was about to march with some of the companions towards an important battle. Some people did not do anything. Some people did not make any preparation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of that, He prevented them from going. He let them down. He did not encourage them. He did not put any motivations in their hearts. And He said, وَلَوْ أَرَادُوا الْخُرُوجَ لَأَعَدُّوا لَهُ عُدَّةً وَلَكِنْ كَرِهَ اللَّهُ بِعَثَهُمْ فَثَبَّطَهُم. If they really wanted to march with the Prophet, they would have prepared for that. But Allah hated their preparation, so He let them down. So do not let Allah hate our preparation. Do not let Allah hate your preparation. And again, Allah's not asking for the impossible. Allah is not asking for the impossible. The minimum required, as the Sahabi who came to the Prophet ﷺ saying, how many prayers do I need to do? The Prophet ﷺ said to him, 5, unless you want to do more. How many months should I fast? He said, 1 month, unless you want to do more. How many times should I do Hajj? Once, if you can, unless you want to do more. And then he walks away, saying, by Allah, I'm not going to do anything more or less than that. The Prophet ﷺ says, Allah, successful he is if he says the truth. If he's saying the truth. It is the time that if you're not doing that, it is time to do that. It is the time that if you're not praying your 5 times a day, then you have to. And it's a time, if you are praying the 5 times a day, then you have to do a little extra. Because in Ramadan we have nightly prayer, for example. And it's a time, if you're not doing any fasting other than Ramadan, then it's a time now to do extra. At least do 3 times. 3 days of fasting. At least. If you can't do 3, do 1. Do something. So when the first day of Ramadan comes, you have some taste of fasting before the first day. You have some taste of reading the Quran. You have some taste of standing up in Qiyam. So that sort of preparation can help you move forward throughout the month of Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our good deeds and to accept our worship and to accept everything that we do for His sake. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the best reward of this life, the best reward of the hereafter, and to protect us all from the punishment of the hellfire. We ask Allah to show us the right path and to help us to follow it, to show us the wrong path and help us to avoid it. We ask Allah to make us helpful for others. We ask Allah to make us people who stand for the justice, stand for the truth, stand for the rights of others. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our deeds and to grant us paradise without any prior reckoning or prior questioning. قوموا إلى صلاتكم ورحمكم الله. إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Straight your lines. Straight your lines. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ألف لام را تلك آيات الكتاب وقرآن مبين ربما يود الذين كفروا لو كانوا مسلمين ذرهم يأكلوا ويتمتعوا ويلههم الأمل فسوف يعلمون. الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. وما أهلكنا من قرية إلا ولها كتاب معلوم ما تسبق من أمة أجلها وما يستأخرون. الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Is the day, is the month, which is your deed is going to be lifted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So please, give sadaqah to the masjid and you will find it, inshallah, in the hereafter, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you paradise, inshallah.